Comfort is the killer of greatness. How many times have you heard the term, you need to get out of your comfort zone? Okay, so you need to get out of your comfort zone. All righty, and too many of us are in our comfort zone. We're content, we're okay with mediocrity. Okay, we're fearful of rejection. So in our mind, too many of us would rather stay in their comfort zone, and that hinders your ability to be great, greater than great. Is that where you really want to stay? Do you really want to stay there? Come on now, let's be honest. Come on. Do you really want to stay there? Okay. So don't forget to keep listening or watching this episode, because this masterclass that I'm going to teach, it's going to help you. But you got to stick around so I can get all the details. You can get all the details, and you can be able to register for this class, because I want to be able to help you get out of that comfort zone, okay? Because it is the killer of greatness.
Today's episode of Reset to Reinvent podcast is brought to you by the Adams Group Agency, developing final expense leaders.
Hello, my family, my Reset to Reinvent family. I want to say good day to everybody. Welcome to Reset to Reinvent podcast. I am so excited. I feel like I am on top of the world, and actually, I feel like I'm on top of a cloud, because I am just coming from the wonderful 3 days of Podcast Summit 2025 in the ATL, and it was just an exhilarating experience. Let me tell you, 3 days of learning from very, very, very successful people in the podcasting space, who taught on topics that could transform the lives of podcasters all over the world. Over 1,000 people in attendance from all over the world. Men, women, young people, children. Oh, it was just amazing. The energy was contagious. Let me tell you, it really was. There's something powerful, something empowering about being in the presence of like-minded people from all walks of life, who earn various levels of income, but all who support each other and love on each other, their successes. There's just nothing like it. And that's what the experience was at the podcast summit. It really was. And so what I'm going to do today is share a few takeaways a little bit later in the show. But I must tell you, I've got to tell you guys, okay? I got to tell you the absolute highlight of my experience over those 3 days. I've got to tell you the highlight, okay? But before I do that, I want to let you know that I am planning my first ever masterclass. You hear a lot of people talk about masterclass this, and I said, okay, you know what? It's my turn. Okay, I'm planning my first masterclass. It's going to be held in September. 4 Mondays in September. All of the details are going to be discussed at the end of today's show. So you want to stick around so that you can hear about it. Who knows? It may be something that you're interested in registering. Okay. I do want to let you know that there will be a limited number of seats, a limited number of slots, and it's going to be first come, first serve. The first 20 people or so, or however many people that we have. And I think we're limiting it to 20 that pay the fee. Then Those will be the 20 that will be participating in the first ever masterclass. So stay tuned for all of the details, and so that you can be one of the first to register. And oh, by the way, you are hearing it first on this podcast, episode 21 of Reset to Reinvent. Okay, you're so special. Yes, you are. So you have heard me mention several times that it was David Shands, the GOAT of podcasting, the GOAT of the podcasting space, and how much of a tremendous impact he has made on my new career as a podcaster. Okay, you've heard me share that. Okay, and last year's summit was amazing. I learned so much, was inspired to get my podcast going, and our first episode, of course, was in March, and you were here with us, and I appreciate that so much. Now we're episode 21. Yes, yes, yes. So to be able to meet this guy in person, have a conversation, get feedback from him, and get a picture. Actually, got two pictures. I'm over the moon excited. Okay. So this happened on Wednesday. Okay, this happened on Wednesday at the My Seven Figure Podcast Community Intensive that I had the honor of being invited to attend. So it was a smaller group of people, maybe a couple of hundred people that were at this intensive, this community intensive, very hands-on, very up close and personal training from some of the leading experts in the podcast space. And so I was just honored to be there. Okay. And then, of course, going into the 2-day actual podcast summit on the 7th and the 8th, it was just unbelievable, just absolutely unbelievable. Okay, so when I got a chance to meet him, I felt like a groupie. Okay, I did. I felt like a groupie, and you know what? I didn't even care that I felt like a groupie. As a matter of fact, I even told Chance that. Okay, I felt like I was in the presence of a rock star, and it was exhilarating. I reminded him of my first episode and how I spoke about him and his influence on me. And I thanked him for everything that he does. And I thanked him for his humble spirit. And he was just standing there smiling at me. And then he said to me, he said, "Wow, I love your energy." And I was like, it was pretty cool. So needless to say, the remainder of that day and the following 2 full days of the podcast summit was just, it just got better and better, and it was mind blowing. Actually, I want to chat a few minutes, folks, about something important for growth wherever you are in life, personally or professionally. Okay, so immersing yourself. Okay, immersing yourself in a positive learning environment that empowers, enlightens, informs, motivates, and elevates your mindset to go higher in whatever industry, whatever job or business that you're in and involved with. This is critical to your ultimate success. It is critical. But the question first is, do you want more success? Or are you content where you are in life, personally and professionally? And if you are, it's okay. It's all good. I'm not going to be mad at you. But this conversation is for the person who's not satisfied, who's looking to reset and reinvent themselves. And that's what this podcast is all about. The person who's experienced failure after failure, like I have, maybe not necessarily on the levels of failures that I have, but failure is failure, folks. And you're ready to leap into what God has for you. So if you're waiting for the perfect situation, waiting for the right amount of money to be in your bank account, then you're in for a rude awakening. It's just not going to happen like that. I'm sorry. I hate to be the one to bust your bubble, okay? Because it's just not going to happen like that. But investing in yourself, investing in your business is critical. We talk about that a lot with my insurance business. You got to invest in going to the meetings and different things. And it is an investment, but it's critical to your success. It's critical to your success. Okay. Investing in your life is critical because it forces you to expand and grow. Investing means purchasing and reading impactful books. Okay. For example, with my insurance agency, the book of the month is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Okay, that book is timeless. It was written in like 1936. Okay, that's a timeless book that can be read over and over and over again. And check this out: sitting at the I think it was day one of the podcast of the podcast summit in Atlanta, Sands was up there on the stage and he talked about the importance of reading and reading books. And he said, one book that you need to read, if you've already read it, you need to read it again and again and again. And he said, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That is the one and only book that he mentioned that he says he's read over and over and over again, and he encouraged everybody to do the same. I was blown away. I was like, confirmation. Okay. So, attending conferences, we're talking about stretching yourself and growing and investing in yourself, attending conferences and seminars and summits and continuing your education by attending online master classes and other types of learning opportunities. Invest in yourself and your life will change. I promise you. Okay. Now, it happened to me in this particular podcast summit. Podcast Summit 2025. Now, have you ever felt like, listen to this, have you ever felt like God was talking to you either through something that you saw, something that you read, something that you experienced, something that you saw? You do realize, though, that your heart and mind have to be in sync, have to be open, have to be available for discernment so that you'll be able to hear or see what God is saying to you. Okay. And they're all around you. When you get to be where you're in alignment with God and you're in alignment with God and what you're supposed to be doing in life, I mean, it could be at any given moment, any situation. It could be a text from somebody. It could be a devotional. It could be a worship service sermon. It could be just someone that says something and you're like, wow, that's right in alignment. That's God talking to you. Okay. So you have to be in expectant mode of what's going on around you. Some people might say, oh, that's just a coincidence. No. I disagree with that. It's not a coincidence. No, absolutely not. It's God sending you or giving you messages, giving you signs, giving you direction, giving you clarity, giving you a clearer picture of what you're supposed to be doing on different levels. And it's really exciting. And it happened over and over and over and over again for me at the podcast summit. Okay. So how about this? I want you to do something for me because somebody out there has experienced this. I want you to send me an email right now to reset2reinvent@gmail.com. Reset2reinvent@gmail.com. I want you to send me one experience where you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was God talking to you. And I'll respond. Okay. I'd love to chat about that. Okay. You do that for me. Reset2reinvent@gmail.com and just share with me just one experience. And it may have been something that happened a long time ago or something recent. I'd love to have some dialogue with you about that. Okay. So there's so many moments that I knew God was giving me clear direction. Okay, I just knew it. Clarity on where I want to go with this podcast in terms of meeting the needs of my community, and that means you. Okay, allow me to share 8 takeaways, okay, from the Podcast Summit 2025. Okay, yep. I know somebody is already saying, and how is that going to benefit me? I need to just go ahead and click and just go on and listen to another podcast. No. Don't do that, because these takeaways can be applied to whatever situation that you're in. Okay, whether you're in leadership, at your job, leadership at your church, if you're in business for yourself, if you want to start a business, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're any of those things, I'm sure. Or what about if you're at a crossroads in your life, in your personal or professional life, any of those scenarios, if you said, yes, me, guess what? These 8 takeaways can make an impact. Okay. So don't you go away. So here are my 8 takeaways from the Podcast Summit 2025 that was recently held in Atlanta, Georgia, hosted by the GOAT of podcasting, David Shands. First takeaway. Now, these are takeaways from me, and they came from different presenters, different speakers. I prefer not to say their names because some of these were, high level people, and I don't know the protocol of just throwing and dropping names. Now, David Shands, that's different because he's in the podcast arena, but some of these folks were some heavy duty folks that many of you probably know in the podcast arena and other arenas. But the takeaways is what I want you to take away. Okay, you ready? All right, let's go. The first one is be someone you want to follow. Be someone you want to follow. In other words, have you accomplished anything significant? Have you done anything? Have you done anything or experienced something and it's impactful? A lot of people either took notice or you learned a lot from that experience, and you can be able to talk about it, because your experiences, God says your experiences are not for you. The hard times and the failures and the hiccups and the different things that go on with life, they're not for you. Yeah, you're experiencing. Yeah, you're the one that's getting beat up and all that other kind of good stuff. But it's for you when we share a testimony or share a story or share the experience and you're impacting someone. That's what I'm talking about. So are you someone that people want to follow? Do they want to hear more of what you're talking about? Do they want to follow you? Okay. And it could be more degrees, maybe a bachelor, or maybe what can be significant in that regard is someone who maybe got their bachelor or master's degree after going through a lot of stuff. Maybe they didn't complete their degree in like 4 years like I did for my undergrad. Maybe it took them a lot more years due to distractions and things. So there's, the degrees is good, but I'm talking about something else deeper and more profound than that. Be someone you want people to follow. That's the first takeaway. The second one is to be consistent. Okay, now over the 3 days of the summit, I think I heard the word consistent come out of just about every speaker. And I heard at least 20 different speakers, okay, over a 3-day period. You're probably like, wow, yes, over 20 people. Now, the word consistent came about over and over and over again. And when you think about the word consistent, that is so important in every aspect of your life. When you can be consistent in everything that you do and how you address situations, how you do things on your job, or how you do things in your respective business, to be consistent. A lot of times a person will get discouraged because they're not having the success, maybe in sales, insurance sales. We hear it all of the time, but they're not being consistent. They're not following the system. They're not following the game plan. They're not following the blueprint or the green print. And if you're not consistent in doing those things, then what's going to happen? You're going to quit right before you got the successes right around. So being consistent, that was a second takeaway, because it came up over and over and over again. So the third one is, this is a good one right here. Growth requires pain. Okay, so can we all agree? Can we all agree that life can give you some hard balls? Okay, can knock you off your feet. And as the young people like to say, yeah, life be lifing. If you want to have, let me tell you, if you want to have any level of success, okay, you're going to go through some pain, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt physically, mentally. It's going to hurt. You're going to go through some pain. And so in last week's episode, you might remember I shared a scenario where my car was repossessed. The car was taken away in the middle of the night, and I'm getting ready to prepare to go to a women's leadership conference that I organized, that I was facilitating, that I put together, that I invited the keynote speaker, and the attendees were coming. They had already paid. The place was laid out. We had food that was going to be ready, and I had to be there, and I got ready to go that morning, and my car was gone. Now, that was some pain. Okay. Now, if you want to hear all the rest of the story, you have to go back to episode 20 and hear all the details. But folks, to suffice it to say, growth requires pain. Okay. Takeaway number 4. Ooh, I really like this one. Okay. Number 4 is comfort is the killer of greatness. Comfort is the killer of greatness. How many times have you heard the term, you need to get out of your comfort zone? Okay. Oh, you need to get out of your comfort zone. All righty. And too many of us are in our comfort zone. We're content. We're okay with mediocrity. Okay. We're fearful of rejection. So in our mind, too many of us would rather stay in their comfort zone, and that hinders your ability to be great, greater than great. Is that where you really want to stay? Do you really want to stay there? Come on now, let's be honest. Come on. Do you really want to stay there? Okay. So don't forget to keep listening or watching this episode, because this masterclass that I'm going to teach, it's going to help you. But you got to stick around so I can get all the details. You can get all the details, and you can be able to register for this class, because I want to be able to help you get out of that comfort zone, okay? Because it is the killer of greatness, okay? You do want to be great, don't you? Absolutely, you do, okay? But here's something else you can do. You could do right now. You could go to my website, reset2reinvent.com. reset2reinvent.com, click on Reinvent Store, and purchase my book, Mental Toughness. Purchase the ebook, Mental Toughness. That book will be transformative, and it will definitely help you get out of your comfort zone. Go to my website, reset2reinvent.com, click on Reinvent Store, and what you want to do is go ahead and purchase Mental Toughness. We're talking about the killer of greatness, and that's that comfort zone, okay? Number 5, the 5th key takeaway from this podcast summit 2025, be a problem solver. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about whether you're a podcaster, whether you're in corporate America, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter. Be a problem solver. And so when I think about my life insurance business, okay, one of the aspects that makes it so exciting is that we are insurance agents. We are problem solvers. And you're probably saying, well, what is the problem? Well, the problem is, for someone who does not have life insurance, that's a problem. Okay. People who request information about life insurance, and those are the people that we go and see. People who have requested information about life insurance through the carrier that some of the carriers that we work with, they want a professional to come by and talk with them. And the question is, they want life insurance because they don't want their family to be financially burdened after they die. So we're helping them solve a problem. So in your particular area, your particular business, whatever it is that you do, be a problem solver. Okay. That's a cool, excellent takeaway. The sixth one is expand your vision. Oh, there was a lot of talk about vision and dreams and keep in mind now it ties in. If you're staying in that little comfort zone, that little square, that one little spot that you just want to stay in, you don't want to step out of, then your vision is not going to be very broad. But if you can expand your vision, let me tell you, the most successful and wealthy people have vision, expanded vision. And how do you get that vision? By going to events and conferences like that, by going to continuing ed classes, by reading books. That's how you expand your vision. You can't expand your vision if you're just sitting with the same core group of people who are either on the same level of you or lower. Now, it's not to demean anybody. Please don't get me wrong about that. But what I'm saying is vision is big. Vision is bigger than where you are and what you want to do. And that vision is the only way you can really capture a bigger vision is to be around people who can help you expand that vision. And by going to events like what I went to with the podcast summit, oh my goodness, it was all around me. It was just overwhelming. I'm still digesting it, still absorbing it all, but I'm so empowered and so excited about what this is going to help me be able to do to help you, my community, with Reset to Reinvent. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So successful people, the wealthiest people, they have big dreams and they want to make more impact. You make more impact with people, your vision is expanded. Number 7, the 7th key takeaway: celebrate your successes, big or small. Some of you just beat up on yourself. You just give yourself a hard time and don't celebrate the small successes and the big successes. Maybe you wanted to start losing weight and you're like me and you've got 2 knees that you had knee replacements. And so walking is just not as easy and comfortable as it was prior to not only prior to the knee replacement surgeries, but prior to the pain that I experienced for months and months before I even had the knee replacements in the first place. Okay. So, but if you've got a goal of, walking 5 minutes, 10-minute increments through different times of the day, and you do that, versus someone that says, oh yeah, well, I walked 2 or 3 miles at one time. So if you're comparing yourself to someone else, then that's minimizing your successes. You celebrate your successes. You celebrate the successes that are yours, that have your name on it, okay? Because your success is your success. Celebrate your successes. Give yourself some credit for what you're doing right. Can you do that, please? Can you? Okay, thank you. Thank you. The 8th key takeaway from the Podcast Summit 2025 is learn how to say no. Now, I know 99.9% of my audience are women, and this is designed for women. But guys, fellas, you can benefit too, okay? And wait till you hear a little bit more of what my expansion for our mission, you'll see how men are going to be incorporated. But for this key takeaway right here, learn how to say no, because women, we feel like we have to do it all. We have to do it all. We have to be the all for everything and everyone. And we don't want to say no because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Sooner or later, it's okay to say no. Okay. I learned how to say no after the horrible experience with the 2014 mayor's race. Okay. Now, I found myself, after reflecting After all of that went down, I reflected and I realized that I was, I attended all the events, attended events that I was invited to, and even attended those that I wasn't necessarily invited to, but I wanted to go to show support. I wanted to be supportive, and and after a while, it's like, you know what, it's too much. At some point, you've got to learn how to say no. Now, it may be a little quirky, a little difficult at first, but you're not doing it to hurt anybody's feelings. But the fact of the matter is, you can't continue to be everything for everybody. So that was a key takeaway. I can't remember which speaker brought that up, but there were several. You got to learn how to say no, and that's personally and professionally. Okay, can we do that? Okay, so see, these were our 8 key takeaways. Now, didn't I tell you these takeaways can be applied to you and you and you and you, not just somebody in the podcasting arena? This was some good stuff. So I want them to make you think. I want to challenge you to stretch. And I'm hoping that they're helping you to do that. Okay. So my entire thought process of where I want to go with my podcast was challenged and stretched in a huge way over that 3-day period. Okay. My team is excited. I'm super stoked, super excited. And first of all, I'm planning my first masterclass. Okay. You hear masterclass all the time. More details coming in just a few minutes. I do plan on writing more books. I love to write. I'm going to be writing more books. I'm going to be planning conferences and events, and I'm going to put myself out there for speaking engagements. Now, for those of you who knew me, let's just say 14, 11, 12, 13, 14 plus years ago, I used to do a lot of speaking engagements and conferences and events and churches. And so, hey, if you're out there and you're listening or watching and you have a need for a speaker, talk, you can go to reset to reinvent .com website and go to the page where it asks you to leave some information, and you just follow the questions and we'll see what we can work out. Okay. All right. So that's something that it stirred inside me. Oh, big time when I was there at the summit, expanding my vision. Okay. And I'm also going to be creating a community, and it's the community with you in mind. Right now, you're probably like, oh, what does that mean? Oh, I'll share more information about that in the coming weeks. But just know that I'm working on ways based on all of the information that I'm still digesting and still processing from that 3-day podcast summit. Okay. And it's all going to be about you. It's all about you. How can I impact you? How can I make your life better using my experiences and all of that? Okay. This is exciting. Are you guys excited? Okay. I am. Okay. So one of the things that I do want to also share. Okay. So the vision of who I want to impact was stretched after listening to the speakers too. Okay. I had to think about the fact that all of probably 90%, 95% of the obstacles and the challenges and the beat downs and the lifing stuff has happened over the past 34 years. And that's the years that I've been in business. I started my business in May of 1991. Okay. And so I thought, so you know what? It kind of makes sense to include the word entrepreneurs in our overall mission. Okay. In terms of who we want to impact. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. I see you nodding. Okay. So here we go. Reset to Reinvent empowers women and entrepreneurs to rebuild and thrive after life's toughest challenges by providing inspiration, guidance, motivation, and actionable strategies for resilience. I'm going to say that again because I like the way that sounds. Yeah, I got to get it so that it flows off my tongue, okay? Reset to Reinvent empowers women and entrepreneurs to rebuild and thrive after life's toughest challenges by providing inspiration, guidance, motivation, and actionable strategies for resilience. This is for you. This is absolutely for you. And I'm so excited about that. Because as I sat there listening to some of these speakers and women, men from different backgrounds, and they were from all over, from Miami to, just from all over. Okay. And I've always been a student. I've always been someone, I'm taking notes and I'm taking it all in, and I'm pulling out the pieces that apply to me and where I want to be. Okay. And where I want to go. Okay. So Reset to Reinvent podcast, it's a ministry for me. Okay. It's a ministry for me, and it's my ministry. And as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to help people. Okay. And I've been doing that all my life. At 66 years young, I have tons of life experiences, failure after failure after failure. Most of my life, I did not. And I've mentioned this before in a previous episode. I have not had a mentor or a coach to guide me, to give directions on what I was doing. I just kind of winged it. I just found my way, until I got in the insurance industry. And then I had a direct mentor and still do mentor and coach. And he is the GOAT of the insurance industry in my book. Okay. And because I didn't have a mentor and or a coach, and didn't even know about, reaching out to a coach or hiring a coach, that just wasn't a thing 30 something years ago. Come on now, I've been out here for a minute, but that just wasn't a thing like the way you hear it now. Everybody has a coach and everybody's got a trainer and they got all of these different things. Okay. And that may be why I had so many failures, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all good, because failures do make you stronger. Okay. And I'm still here. So after attending the sessions at the podcast summit, my mind was expanded in such a way that I was able to come up with techniques and strategies that I've used over the years, that me and my producer, we got our whiteboard out on Saturday and just jotted down things and looked at different patterns. And I'm like, look at this. Look at God putting all of this together. Look at God putting all of this together. And we discovered that we're going to create a masterclass on those things that we've got on the whiteboard. Okay. And so here it is. And we're almost done with today's episode. You guys have been amazing. Okay. This upcoming masterclass. Okay. Y'all ready for this? 4 Mondays in September, beginning September 8th, okay? Because September 1st is Labor Day, all right? Just in case you didn't know. 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? So those are the dates, 4 weeks in a row, that will be transformative for anybody who attends, okay? I promise you that. Because I'm going to always give it all I got, okay? All right. The Eventbrite registration is being worked on now. It's going to be out in the next day or so. But because you're hearing about it today through my podcast, before I even put it out there, you can send me an email right now, reset2reinvent@gmail.com, and say, hey, I want to register. I want to be there. Okay. And I'll show you how you can get registered and be one of the first in this particular masterclass. Okay. Like I said, you're hearing it before I'm putting it out to the public. Okay. This is for you, my listeners. And then, once we get to the max number that we want for this first masterclass, then people will have to wait until the next one. Okay. All right. So check this out. I want you to hear this. The name of the master class is Fall Hard, Rise Harder. When the reset feels like the end, but it's really the beginning. I mean, just the title alone would make me say, oh man, I'm in, I'm there. Okay. Fall hard, rise harder. When the reset feels like the end, but it's really the beginning. Okay. So here's a description of this masterclass. Join us for the Fall Hard, Rise Harder Masterclass, where resilience meets transformation. This dynamic course being presented by moi, Helen Blocker Adams, is designed for individuals seeking to overcome setbacks and emerge stronger than ever. Through a blend of personal stories, practical strategies, and interactive exercises, you will learn how to navigate challenges, harness the power of failure, and cultivate a mindset geared toward growth. That's what the masterclass is about. Just that little bit, hopefully, has gotten somebody excited. Registration is only $99. Okay. You can email me right now, reset to reinvent.com. reset to reinvent at gmail.com. Reset to reinvent at gmail.com. Okay. You can send me an email and say, hey, look, I want to be one of the first to register. How do I pay? Okay. Wow. So excited. What a show today. Once again, hats off to David Shands, the GOAT of the podcasting arena. I'll be forever in his debt as I continue to work under his tutelage. And yes, I am a part of his mentoring, coaching course, if you will. And so I get a chance to interact with him on a regular basis. And that's going to continue to help me grow so that I can be able to impact you. Okay. So I want to thank you so much for joining me for today's episode of Reset to Reinvent. I would like for you to like, subscribe, download, share all of the episodes. If you haven't heard or listened to all of the others, go back and listen to them. I guarantee you they're going to be impactful. Scroll down to the footer of whatever podcast platform that you're on so that you can see the different ways that you can subscribe or support the podcast, or just shoot me an email because we want to hear from you. Okay, we want to hear from you. So I want to thank you again. I pray that you have a positive and safe week ahead of you. Thank you so much for listening to Reset to Reinvent podcast, episode number 21. Why? Because you deserve to be inspired. Peace.